In this lecture, we will talk about the functions of intercalated cells and their importance in formation of urine and their role in maintenance of acid-base balance in the human body. We were discussing the late distal tubule and cortical collecting tubule. Now this part, this yellow color portion of the nephron is showing the late distal tubule and cortical collecting tubule. Previously, we discussed that there are two types of cells. First type of cells are principal cells, and we discussed the principal cells in detail. The second type of cells are intercalated cells. Now, it is important to remember that urine formation begins in the glomerulus and the filtrate moves along the proximal tubule loop of Henle, then it comes to a distal tubule and cortical collecting tubule. And every part of nephron has its own function to in the formation of urine and maintenance of body fluids and maintenance of acid-base regulation. Now, it's the turn of these late distal tubule and cortical collecting tubule and the different cells that are present in these late distal tubule and cortical collecting tubule and their role in formation of urine. So, in the principal cells, we discussed that there is secretion of potassium into the tubule, along the luminal membrane of the principal cells, and there is a reabsorption of sodium into the cell. And this movement of potassium and sodium was guided by the sodium-potassium pump. This pump was throwing out sodium from the cells outside the cells along the basolateral membrane. This is the luminal membrane, this is the basolateral membrane. Here is the basolateral membrane. Here we have the peritubular capillaries, and here we have the luminal membrane. So the sodium was absorbed from the tubule into the cells, and then it was thrown out outside the basolateral membrane, and potassium was reabsorbed from the basolateral membrane. It was brought into the cell, and then when its concentration increased, it is secreted into the tubule. We also discussed the role of potassium-sparing diuretics when they block the action of aldosterone or when they block sodium channels. So now the potassium has been secreted and it is going along the way. Here comes the role of intercalated cells. The intercalated cells, they secrete hydrogen into the tubule. Now this is the tubule. This is an intercalated cell. This intercalated cell will secrete hydrogen into the tubule. This cell will secrete hydrogen into the tubule and will reabsorb potassium from the tubule into the cell. From tubule into the cell. Now how this thing will happen? This thing will happen because inside the intercalated cells, the carbon dioxide and water with the help of carbonic anhydrase, forms the carbonic acid inside the intercalated cells. The carbonic anhydrase acts on carbon dioxide and water and converts it into carbonic acid. This carbonic acid then splits into hydrogen ion and a bicarbonate. The bicarbonate is reabsorbed along the basolateral membrane. It is reabsorbed along the basolateral membrane into this area. The bicarbonate is reabsorbed and the hydrogen is secreted along the luminal membrane. The hydrogen is secreted into the tubule. When this hydrogen is being secreted, the potassium is reabsorbed into the cells. So the potassium which was secreted by the principal cells present in the late distal tubule and cortical collecting tubule, that potassium is reabsorbed by the intercalated cells, and at the same time hydrogen is secreted. Now hydrogen here is secreted against a very high concentration. Now the concentration of hydrogen inside the cells is 1, while concentration of hydrogen in the tubule is almost 1000. So it is a ratio of around 1 to 1000. So hydrogen is secreted against a very high gradient. So this is a very active secretion of hydrogen. Hydrogen was also secreted in the proximal tubule, but there the concentration was only 1 to 110. So the gradient was not that much different. Here the secretion of hydrogen is against a very big gradient, and it is against very high concentration of hydrogen that is already present in the tubule. So this thing helps in the maintenance of acid-base balance. So that's the role of intercalated cells in the that are present in the late distal tubule and cortical collecting tubule. To summarize the function of early distal tubule, late distal tubule and cortical collecting tubule, this segment as a whole is not allowing urea to be reabsorbed. It will not reabsorb urea. So urea will remain in the tubule and it will go out in the urine. So this whole segment, it will not allow urea to be reabsorbed. And now this portion will absorb sodium and potassium. As we discussed, sodium is absorbed here and potassium is reabsorbed here. Now another thing is that this portion will secrete hydrogen. As we discussed, that hydrogen is secreted here. So this thing, this area, this early early and late distal tubule and cortical collecting tubule will help in the reabsorption of sodium potassium, in the secretion of hydrogen, and concentration of urea in the urine, because it will not allow reabsorption of urea. And finally, the reabsorption of water. This portion will normally not allow water to be reabsorbed, so this is also named as diluting segment. It will not allow water to be reabsorbed. Water will be present in the tubule, it will not be reabsorbed. So more water in the tubule helps in dilution of the urine, and it is the diluting segment. But there is an important difference. Previously we discussed that the reabsorption of sodium and secretion of potassium was dependent on aldosterone. It was dependent on aldosterone, and any drug which interrupts the action of aldosterone will interrupt the reabsorption of sodium and secretion of potassium. Similarly, there is no reabsorption of water in this area, but there is a hormone known as ADH, antidiuretic hormone. If this hormone is present in high amount, it will help in the reabsorption of water in this segment. It will help in the reabsorption of water. But if it is not present in high concentration, it will not allow water to be reabsorbed. So the reabsorption of sodium and secretion of potassium was very much dependent on aldosterone in this segment, and the reabsorption of water is dependent on antidiuretic hormone ADH, also known as vasopressin. So that's all about the early and late distal tubule and cortical collecting tubule, the principal cells, the role of principal cells and role of intercalated cells in the formation of urine, maintenance of body fluids, and maintenance of acid-base balance. Thanks a lot for watching the video.